Okay, so I'm down in the lower, probably one of the farthest south properties that I do, and I just had the property owner. This is a new property that I just picked up. He's after me. A new property that I just picked up, and she was telling me about the musket balls that she was finding here, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. But we're not really that far from where George Washington crossed the Delaware River. He crossed down north of Trenton, close to Titusville, or at Titusville, close to it anyway, Washington State Park, or George Washington State Park in Titusville. But anyway, according to history, this field that I'm mowing hay in, well, if you could call it hay, this is mostly just a bunch of weeds and shit. There's a lot of grass in it, and actually it's 90% grass, just it wasn't taken care of. But a couple bales at a time on a load, it will be okay. You don't want to have too much weeds in for mulch hay and stuff, but a couple bales at a time. But this particular field, in this particular area, in that clump of trees right there is a house where George Washington laid his head. I have documentation of it and the stories to boot. Now, the woman that actually owns this farm, she has found musket balls. And if you know anything about the Revolutionary War in New Jersey, there was a lot of activity here, believe it or not. And in this field, obviously, there must have been a skirmish of some sort. Maybe it wasn't a full-fledged battle, but it was definitely a skirmish, because she's finding musket balls, and she has them. So I have a metal detector that I've had for many years, and it's a Spectrum, White's Spectrum DFX, dual frequency deal. And there's a lot of history in this part of the West Amwell, New Jersey is where I'm at. And I'm actually thinking if I get a few minutes time, I'm going to bring my metal detector down here when I bail, and I'm going to run that loop over this ground a little bit, and maybe I can find a couple of musket balls. Because wouldn't it be neat to come up with a musket ball that was fired somewhere in the late 1700s to liberate us from the English that, you know, so taxed us to death. We won't go into a political discussion, but that was the first American Revolution. I don't know if there's going to be a second, but I hope when we vote that it averts some tension that may arise after the election. But anyway, I'm making hay in a historic ground. There's actually a graveyard, a small graveyard, and I'm going to probably get a picture of it. Yeah, you won't be able to see it from here. On the other side of that monstrosity of the house right here, there's a graveyard, and one of the gravestones is very old, and I believe she said it was there was a Titus in there, and that stone was 1702. So I'm going to go back over there and finish mowing a strip when I'm done in this field, and I'll swing up and I'll get some video of that little graveyard, because I just think they're kind of cool. But it was a family graveyard for the original farm that was here. So, anyway. Alright, well, I guess there's just a couple of stones here. I don't know, I'd like to see what their names are, but it just can't tell. Maybe you can see that way. I don't know. Rather a fancy stone for the age of it. This one here is a little smaller. Yeah, see these old limestone? You can't even tell. The woman that owns it said that it was 1702, but maybe if I had some water I could spill on there and be able to tell what it was. Oh, we got horses. Horses coming to see me, but this little graveyard and has kind of been abused because they took the stones out of the field and just piled them up here. It's kind of strange. So this is a family graveyard. It isn't a it is not a public one. And who knows how big it really was at one point. It could have been much larger. I know there's another one at another farm that I do from time to time that is much larger than that, and it actually was out in the field, and they just kept plowing closer and closer years ago. I didn't give a damn about that stuff. So, you know, it got smaller, but now it's kind of being documented. And this one here should be documented too. But it is a family graveyard. It's kind of, they call them Boot Hills, you know, and it's at the top of the hill. It is, because that's a cliff that goes down to a railroad down below, and that there is at the very top as it crests over the other side. Like I was saying earlier, this is a Revolutionary War site where some things went down in the 1770s, and as you know, the Declaration of Independence was signed on July 4th, 1776, and the war started shortly thereafter, going to, God, I think it was, God, how many years was that? It was a long time. It wasn't like a 4-year war. It was 7 years they fought the revolution. I'm not sure. I'd have to go research that, because I really don't know. I used to know, but I think it was 7 years. I know in 1789 was the Bill of the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution. The Bill of Rights was written then in 1789. But anyhow, enough history with the one lonely farmer. I'm going to move on to the next farm, which is a long way away. So have at it.